Humanity is extinct. God is gone. And heaven is ruled by a corrupt council. And a blood fueled war machine has just entered hell to slaughter everything inside of it. And that machine is you. But Ultrakill's story is a lot bigger than a robot killing demons. Hidden throughout the game are terminal entries, secret testaments, and environmental clues that reveal a massive story about the fall of humanity, the disappearance of God, and a living hell that may be manipulating everything inside of it. So, today, we're going through the entire Ultrakill lore, from the creation of the universe to the final war that destroyed humanity, all the way to the newest layer of hell. Before the machines, before the war, before humanity destroyed itself, there was the Father. In Ultrakill's universe, the Father, what we would call God, created heaven, the angels, and the world of humanity. In heaven, he planted something known as the Tree of Life. This tree was the origin of all life in existence. The fruit of the tree produced a divine nectar that became the blood inside every living being. Blood wasn't just a biological fluid, it was literally the source of life itself. And in Ultrakill's world, blood would eventually become the fuel that powered the war machines that destroyed humanity. But long before that happened, the Father faced a problem. Humanity had been given free will, and with it came violence, rebellion, and sin. In response, the Father created hell. Hell was meant to be a prison for the wicked, a place where sinners would suffer for eternity. But something went wrong. Hell didn't remain just a place. Over time, hell became something far more terrifying. A massive superorganism capable of thinking, manipulating its own environment, and controlling the creatures trapped inside of it. Hell didn't simply punish sinners, it enjoyed their suffering. And according to the hidden testaments scattered throughout Ultrakill, even the Father eventually realized that creating hell may have been a mistake. Not long after that realization, the Father disappeared, with no explanation and with no successor. With God gone, heaven fell into chaos, and the angels were forced to rule themselves. When the Father disappeared, heaven was left without a ruler. The angels had been created to serve God, not to rule in his place. But with no divine authority left to guide them, heaven quickly fell into chaos. Eventually, a group of powerful angels formed a new governing body known as the Council. The Council claimed to rule in the name of the Father, but without God present, their authority came entirely from force. Heaven became far more authoritarian than it had ever been before. Order was maintained through fear, and the angels enforced absolute control over both heaven and hell. During this time, something unusual began happening in hell. Without God's direct oversight, the souls of the damned began organizing themselves. One of the most important figures to emerge was King Minos. Minos ruled over the layer of lust and believed that the eternal punishment of sinners was unjust. Instead of allowing endless suffering, he attempted to transform the lust layer into a functioning society where souls could live in peace. For a brief time, the lust layer became something hell had never seen before. A city built by the damned themselves. As heaven, this looked like rebellion. The council responded by sending one of their most powerful warriors, the Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel descended into hell and destroyed Minos' civilization, killing the king and restoring the council's authority. But Minos wasn't the only one who challenged heaven. In the Greed layer, another legendary figure rose to power, King Sisyphus. After centuries of punishment, Sisyphus united the souls of greed and launched an open rebellion against heaven itself. For a moment, it looked like the forces of hell might actually succeed. But once again, the council sent Gabriel, and once again, the rebellion ended in blood. Sisyphus was defeated, his body destroyed, and his soul imprisoned deep within hell. With both fights crushed, the council tightened its control over heaven and hell. But the order they created wouldn't last forever, because far away from heaven, on the surface of the earth, humanity was about to begin the war that would destroy their entire species. While heaven struggled to maintain control over hell, humanity on earth was entering its darkest era, a global conflict known as the Final War. The Final War lasted for centuries. As technology advanced, the scale of warfare grew more and more extreme. Eventually, humanity discovered a new energy source that would change the battlefield forever: blood. Blood wasn't just a biological fluid, it was an incredibly efficient energy source capable of powering machines. This discovery led to the creation of the first blood-fueled war machines. At first, these machines were designed to support human soldiers, but as the war escalated, they quickly began replacing them. One of the earliest examples were the guttermen, massive war machines that carried living human bodies inside them. Those humans were kept alive only to serve as a continuous source of blood fuel. Later, humanity developed even more advanced machines: gutter tanks, heavily armored battlefield units designed purely for destruction. Over time, the war became less about human armies and more about machines fighting machines. The scale of destruction continued to grow until, eventually, humanity created something far worse: Earth movers, gigantic walking machines capable of leveling entire cities. The war reached a point where these weapons devastated the planet itself. The destruction was so severe that massive amounts of ash and debris filled the atmosphere. Eventually, the sun itself was blocked out. This event became known as the Long Night. With the planet plunged into darkness and resources collapsing, the final war finally came to an end. Not because one side won, but because humanity had pushed the world to the brink of extinction. The war was over, but the consequences were only beginning. Before we continue, it would mean a lot to me if you liked and subscribed to my channel. You liking and subscribing to my channel lets me know I'm doing a good job and that I should continue doing what I do. After centuries of war and the devastation it left behind, humanity entered a new era. An era known as the New Peace. The horrors of the final war had proven that humanity could not survive another conflict like it. Nations abandoned large-scale warfare. Armies were dismantled, and the massive war machines that once dominated the battlefield were decommissioned. Many machines built for destruction were repurposed to help rebuild the planet. One example were the street cleaners. These flamethrower machines, originally designed for combat, were used to burn away the pollution and the debris that still covered the earth after the war. As the world slowly recovered, humanity began rebuilding civilization. But even during this era of peace, some engineers continued developing new machines. One of those projects was a prototype combat machine known as V1. V1 was designed with a unique system. Its outer plating could absorb fresh blood, use it to instantly repair damage. In theory, This meant the machine could continue fighting indefinitely as long as blood was available. But by the time V1 was completed, the war it had been built for was already over. Humanity had no need for a machine designed purely for endless combat, so the project was abandoned. Instead, a second prototype was created, V2. Like V1, V2 was built with heavier armor and a more stable design, intended for security and peacekeeping rather than warfare. But even that became unnecessary. As humanity continued rebuilding its world, war machines were gradually phased out entirely. For the first time in centuries, it seemed like humanity had finally escaped the cycle of violence that had nearly destroyed it. But that peace would not last, because humanity was about to discover something far worse than war, something buried deep beneath the earth. Hell. During the era of the New Peace, humanity began searching for new sources of energy. Deep beneath their surface, they discovered something extraordinary, a gateway to hell. At first, humanity treated hell like an unexplored frontier. Expeditions were organized, researchers were sent inside, and technology was installed throughout the layers to study the environment. The machines used during these expeditions created a network of terminals inside hell. These terminals recorded observations, analyzed creatures, and documented the strange world humanity had just discovered. But the deeper the expeditions went, the more disturbing their discoveries became. Hell wasn't just a location. Hell was alive. Terminal logs revealed that Hell behaved like a massive superorganism. It could reshape its environment, manipulate structures, and move creatures between layers. It wasn't just reacting to the explorers, it was watching them. And, eventually, it began learning from them. Hell started studying the machines and technology brought by the expeditions. Some creatures inside Hell even appeared to be built using human parts and machinery. The deeper the explorers went, the more hostile the environment became. Doors sealed themselves shut, paths changed. Entire teams disappeared without explanation. Hell wasn't simply punishing the damned, it was playing with its victims. Realizing the danger, humanity eventually abandoned the expeditions. Not long after the Hell expeditions ended, humanity vanished. When humanity vanished, the machines they created were left behind. Many of these machines ran on blood as fuel, something that had once been easy to find during the final war. But with humans gone, that supply quickly ran out. At first, machines began turning on each other, fighting for whatever blood remained. But eventually, they discovered a much larger source. Hell. Hell was filled with demons, husks, and other creatures that still contained blood. So machines began descending into Hell in massive numbers. What had once been a place of eternal punishment became something else entirely. A battlefield of machines, demons, and endless violence. And among the countless machines entering Hell was a prototype war machine known as V1, a machine built to fight forever. And as long as there was blood to spill, V1 could keep going. With humanity gone and blood scarce on the surface, machines began descending into Hell in search of fuel. As V1 descends deeper through the layers of Hell, it encounters demons, husks, angels, and other machines, all fighting for survival. One of the first major enemies V1 encounters is V2, another prototype machine created after V1. two machines clash multiple times as they go deeper into hell. But V1's rampage through the layers doesn't go unnoticed. In heaven, the council sends one of the most powerful warriors, the Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel confronts V1 in the layer of gluttony, declaring the machine an abomination and attempting to destroy it. But the battle ends in something no one expected. Gabriel loses. Defeated by a machine, Gabriel returns to heaven in disgrace. The council strips him of much of his power and gives him a single task: redeem himself by destroying V1. But as V1 continues descending through hell, the destruction only grows worse. In the greed layer, V1 encounters V2 again, defeating the machine once and for all. Deeper in hell, V1 awakens massive ancient creatures, including the Leviathan, a colossal demon lurking in the oceans of wrath. Eventually, V1 confronts Gabriel a second time in the layer of heresy. This time, something has changed. After his defeat and humiliation, Gabriel has begun questioning the authority of heaven itself. And when he finally returns to heaven after the battle, he makes a decision that changes everything. Gabriel slaughters the entire council, declaring that heaven's rule had become corrupt. He takes control himself. Meanwhile, V1 continues descending into even deeper layers of hell. In the Vine Layer, the ruins of the final war appear again, including the massive Earth Movers, the city-destroying war machines that once devastated the surface of the Earth. Even hell itself now contains the remnants of humanity's war. Beyond violence lies the newest discovered layer: fraud. A surreal, distorted city where reality itself twists and folds in impossible ways. This layer punishes those who have lived through deception and manipulation. Here, V1 faces powerful new enemies, including the Providences and the Geryon, a monstrous multi-consciousness creature that hunts sinners through the fractured city. And deeper still, one final layer remains: treachery, the deepest circle of hell, a place that has not yet been fully revealed. With that being said, God is still missing. Hell is still alive. Machines are still descending into its depths. Somewhere at the bottom of hell, what waits there is still unknown.